Good afternoon. The Senate Finance Committee is in session, and we're here on a very, very important issue. The SNAP recipients of our state deserve the very best, and they deserve our attention, and they deserve your best thinking as to how to make things that aren't going that well right. We're glad to have a number of important advocates who have expertise on this subject are here this afternoon to educate us. And before we go to the list, I'm just hoping that in Maryland we could do one of the flyers and widely disseminated, such as the state of New York has done, at least about the skimming that is being an impactful variable causing many people to lose the benefits that they rightfully deserve and the state is trying to provide. So if we could get that out and have it widely disseminated in the kind of little commercial outlets where many of them go because they don't have bank accounts and go in fancy places in many cases. They could pick that up. If they could pick it up at social services, if they could pick it up when they go for medical care and so on, I think that would be helpful. So I hope that since we've got a good model, I think, from New York, that we just put the Maryland seal on it and make it applicable for us. Okay, we're going to start out listening to the department experts on this very important issue. And we'll start out with the Secretary Padilla, Daniel Waite, Deputy Secretary for Administration, LaSherry Yala, Executive Director for Family Investment Administration. If you want to come to the table, if you feel better standing at the podium, you can get up. The mic is yours. There are members of the public who are here wanting to testify. We'll give you 2 minutes each to hear about your experience or your recommendations at the end of the official list. Thank you. All right, who'd like to go first? To state your name.
I'll go first.
And your position. Okay.
Let me start by saying good afternoon, Chair Kelly, Vice Chair Feldman, and members of the committee.
Yeah, move your mic right in front of you. The mics are movable. The entire thing.
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, great.
But guys, you can move those up and down the table.
Yes, let me say it again. Good afternoon, Chair Kelly, Vice Chair Feldman, and members of the committee. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. With me, I have Lashira Ayala, Executive Director for the Family Investment Administration, and Dan Waite, Deputy Secretary for Administration. We have prepared a brief presentation for you today, which I hope will answer many of the questions we have received regarding a decrease in SNAP enrollment, the EBT fraud occurring nationwide, and a recent EBT system outage that occurred on Sunday, August 28th, which lasted roughly 4 hours and impacted a number of states. Before I turn things over to Ms. Ayala to guide us through the presentation, I would like to highlight a few key points. During the COVID pandemic, our department exhausted all efforts to secure every resource available and support Maryland residents during the unprecedented public health emergency. Some of these actions included, but were not limited to, the following. We secure federal waivers across all eligibility programs. We secure federal approval from the USDA to operate a disaster household distribution program and distributed 1 million pounds of food. We secure approval from the USDA to operate a pandemic electronic benefit transfer, or PEBT as is known, program to help Maryland households with children who had temporarily lost access to free or reduced price school meals due to the pandemic-related children closures, resulting in approximately 550,000 vulnerable children in Maryland benefiting from the program with a combined of over $1 billion in benefits. We also requested and received USDA approval to expedite the expansion of the SNAP program to online grocery purchases, curbside pickup, and delivery in Maryland because, as we all know, back in March, the call was stay home. So it was important that we expedited the approval and the expansion of the online grocery purchases. We secured federal approval to issue emergency allotment benefits to eligible SNAP households each month since April of 2020 to present. We're currently doing that. That has not stopped, thus raising an existing SNAP household monthly benefit amount to the maximum allowable based on the household size. To date, over $1 billion in emergency allotment benefits have been issued in Maryland. And I can tell you that back in 2020, my charge to staff, our charge was make sure that every single Marylander that was eligible and needed the benefits had the benefits available to us. And we were very successful in doing that. DHS anticipated the current trends we're seeing in SNAP enrollment. While it is true that caseloads have declined over the last several months, this is a natural result of the recovering post-pandemic economy. As customers have rejoined the workforce, we have seen caseload gradually return toward pre-pandemic levels. On the EBT card fraud, I'm sure you know there's evidence of a nationwide SNAP EBT card cloning scheme, which impacted federal-funded SNAP benefits, the largest nutrition assistance program administered by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We're committed to supporting the needs of our customers. That's what we exist to do. And the ongoing work of federal law enforcement to stop the perpetrators of this crime. We can all agree that this is indeed crime. Lastly, while long EBT system outages are rare, the department stands ready at any time to quickly and nimbly provide additional and flexible resources to our customers in the event they're not able to access their benefits. Once again, I want to thank the committee for your time, your shared commitment to serving vulnerable Marylanders, and support of the work we do. The commitment is mutual. The passion is mutual. The interest is mutual. At this time, I would like to invite LaShira to take us through a more detailed discussion of the issues. And as always, we're happy to answer any questions you may have at the end of her presentation.
Okay, well, let me just ask
Sure.
one thing before we move on. What modalities are you using to determine that you're as successful as you believe you are and that I'm sure you are trying to be, given that in Baltimore City, which I'm sure is one of the major areas where there is significant need, and in a lot of our rural and more outlying counties, we don't even really have adequate access to the internet. The structure isn't there. How are people contacting you or the local departments, and how do they even know that such contacts are possible, and that there is something they can do about their level of need?
Let me go back to, as I said, March 2020, when the pandemic hit. And we can all agree that this was something totally unexpected. And our department was ready within a couple of days. We had staff being ready to work, telework from home. We deployed the tools that they needed so they could process all the applications that people were submitting timely, expeditiously, so client had the benefit they needed when they needed it the most. And I can say, and we're going to go over the increase in participation that we had, the fact that we were able to cope with that additional workload, to issue that additional volume of benefits when it was totally unexpected. You didn't hear anyone complaining about the Department of Human Services having a backlog, not being accessible. Going back to 2020, you didn't hear one time that that was occurring. We were out there, the workers were out there either working from home or those that needed to be in the office so the benefits could be processed, the cards, the mail could be issued. They were all working all the time. We also took advantage of all the different waivers, as I just stated, to make sure that not only we were able to process the application timely, but we removed all the barriers that they could have to access the benefits. As I said, we immediately asked to expedite the expansion of the online purchases so people could also order food as everybody else was doing, right? Everybody was ordering from Dash and were ordering from Walmart and it was being delivered. We didn't want our clients to be any different. So with that in mind, that's why we asked for that to be expedited. We thought of the children that were at home and the parents didn't have additional income because their meals were provided by the schools, right? We immediately worked with the Department of Education and Department of Agriculture to have PEBT available. And we streamlined the process for applications. When other states were making it difficult, were making it parents make application for PEBT, we waived a number of all those unnecessary steps at a time that there was a pandemic.
Well, you really are reiterating what I'm sure we all believe, that you worked really hard and you believe you worked smart. I guess I'm asking, considering there are technological barriers in many of the communities where there's the greatest need. Many people don't even have phone service, let alone a computer. And so I was wondering how you tried to get around that, or what you would recommend in the future to the state and to lawmakers who have to pass a budget every year for you and to help you serve your clients. And so I'm just asking, what more could you have used if it had been available in order to be sure that some of them who are in blocks and blocks and blocks in places like Baltimore City and certain places on the shore where there isn't any access to internet service. What could you do?
Thank you. There have been a lot of lessons learned from the pandemic, right? The one thing that I can say is that we always had staff, for those that you're referring to, the rural community, we had SNAP outreach coordinators that were still out there in the community making sure that they help people as they needed it. Our offices, we always had, at times, it could have been a skeleton, right, screwed back in 2020. But as soon as we were able, we immediately went back to the offices and had staff there with doors open so they could serve the people, as you stated, that didn't have internet. But we also had a call center that people could call, and most of our clients, luckily because of the many initiatives that different administrations have been put in place, have made phones available to our recipients that were able to connect with us. As a matter of fact, I think that it was the pandemic that had allowed us to look at different ways of delivering services in Maryland and different ways of doing the work. Now, moving forward, since you're so graciously asking me how could we help, how we can learn a lesson from that, one of the things that I have charged my staff and that we're going to do ongoing moving forward is look at the lessons learned, use the data that we now have available going back to 2020, right? And identify different ways that we could have prevented what has happened in the event that were to happen again. I think if it happens again, Senator, Maryland is in such better position to cope with another pandemic. Not that I wish we had another one, but we are in so better position. Our technology is so much better. We're now in the cloud where it allows us, which my directors here would tell you, the fact that we had that, it was what allowed the workers to be able to do the work from home and authorize the cases. Because many states could say, oh, my workers could also do the work, but the workers were not able to process the work. In Maryland, we were able to process the work. A caseworker didn't have to go into the office to authorize the case, because we have been working on that. In fact, 5 years ago, on making sure that we modernize our technology. But I do agree that we have data available now that we never had before. And it's upon us to utilize that data, do good data analytics to learn the lessons and prepare us for future disasters and pandemic that unfortunately are due to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to explain.
We'll hear the colleagues that you brought with you in the order in which you have them. Thank you.
Lashira, if you will. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
You
Secretary.
can pull it closer even.
Okay. Can you all hear me? Well,
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Chair Kelly and Vice Chair Feldman. I am Lashira Ayala, Executive Director for the Family Investment Administration, and I appreciate the opportunity to discuss the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, and formerly known as the Food Stamp Program, and EBT fraud with the committee. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is federally funded and regulated. Eligibility for SNAP is means tested. SNAP benefits supplement the income of low-income individuals or families to help them buy nutritious food. A household may be eligible to receive SNAP benefits if they are working for low wages or working part-time, if they are unemployed, if they are receiving other public assistance payments, if they are elderly or disabled and also are low income, or if they are homeless. Next slide, please. At the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, our department saw a 35% increase in individuals seeking food assistance through the SNAP program. Most applicants had lost jobs due to unprecedented layoffs induced by the pandemic. To cope with the sudden increase in the caseload and to maintain benefits for our existing recipients, the Department of Human Services exercised federally approved waivers, including the suspension of the annual SNAP renewal process. While the economy rebounded quickly and many first-time SNAP applicants have returned to work, the continued suspension of the SNAP renewal process meant that income and other eligibility requirements for Maryland SNAP households remained unchecked. And this was until we resumed in this year. And at the direction of the federal government, on January 20th, 2022, DHS resumed recertifications. DHS resumed recertifications using a phased approach that required the submission of required documentation. No cases were closed in January through March of 2022 for failure to complete a recertification interview. That is part of the regular process, but as noted, as we intended to phase in the approach with resuming in January through March, we did not require the recertifications. As anticipated, the resumption of standard operating procedures as required by our federal government has led to a steady decline in the SNAP caseload as caseloads stabilize to pre-pandemic levels. DHS offices in all of our 24 jurisdictions remain open for applicants and recipients. Next slide, please. Displayed is a graphical representation of statewide and jurisdictional trends associated with the SNAP caseload. Consistent with the economy prior to the COVID-19 public health emergency, the SNAP caseload was declining with a healthy economy, and this is reflected in the years of 2015 through 2019. As a result of the pandemic, we experienced a downturn to the economy, which coupled with an increase in public assistance participation. As we are now in our phase of recovery, and we are also seeing a decline in public assistance, eligibility, and participation. Next slide, please. Although many states did not utilize all of the waivers that were approved by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Food and Nutrition Service, we in Maryland exercised every available waiver to ensure during the period of the pandemic, every Marylander did not lose any benefits that they needed during the most uncertain times. Flexibilities remain, allowing us in Maryland to issue the maximum SNAP allotment to eligible households. We are also waiving the initial interview requirements for those households whose expenses exceed their income. That provides them with an opportunity to be provided emergency SNAP benefits, and after these initial benefits are issued, we do complete the federally required interview with these households. We also continue to waive the requirements for work participation for able-bodied adults without dependents. Next slide, please. There are several factors that are impacting the SNAP caseloads in Maryland. During the post-pandemic transition, roughly 60% of customers overlooked a number of communications and outreach conducted by our department and failed to submit a renewal package. Before the pandemic, 61% successfully renewed their benefits each month. Mailing delays through the U.S. Postal Service have also impacted states nationwide, including Maryland. The timely submission of renewal documentation was impacted as a result of mailing delays. Cases are reinstated, so we do reactivate households for any household that was impacted by mail delays. And if they reach out to our department and they do continue to meet the program requirements, we are reactivating them. This means that they do not lose any of their benefits. Through our outreach efforts, the department is finding households who have returned to work and no longer meet SNAP income guidelines established by the USDA FNS are informing us of that status. Federal regulations require that households that are found to no longer be eligible for SNAP as part of the recertification process or the renewal process, they are required to be removed from the program. This has been a major contributor to the caseload decline. There were approximately 14,500 households that have closed between the months of January and July, and this was as a result of a change in their income and their income now being overscaled to meet the program requirements. Next slide, please. Because DHS has been extending the renewals since the beginning of the public health emergency, 2 years without the regular established program requirements, there are cases, there have been households who have never had to go through the renewal process. This sets a challenging precedent in that impacted customers may not know that renewal is a normal part of SNAP administration and it is a requirement to continue to receive benefits. To bridge the requirements knowledge gap, DHS developed an education and outreach campaign which included mass text messages, mass emails, mass social media posts, and massive amounts of word-of-mouth sharing information with customers and community partners. We exhausted every communication method and enlisted the collaborative support of our outreach partners to increase our reach to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to have this information shared with them. I'd like to reiterate, as noted a few moments ago, that our local offices in all of our 24 jurisdictions remain open for applicants and recipients. So for those situations in which a customer would engage with us by coming through our doors, we take that as every opportunity to ensure that they are most up to date with all information regarding benefits. So at those points in time, we also inform them, remind them around the requirements for their renewals. Ensuring that no eligible household was denied access to benefits, we continue to use this multi-channel approach. To ensure that no one was left behind, the department sent out mass emails in December and January notifying program recipients that renewal requirements were resuming. And customers needed to follow up with the agency and follow the instructions from the agency for SNAP renewals when those documents with the instructions were received. Since 94% of households do interact with our text messaging service, DHS sends reminder text messages to households that are due for renewal each month. So this is not only the month prior to the household having to submit their documentation. We begin the efforts in a proactive measure, and we continue to message the customers each month up until when that their redetermination or renewal is due. DHS also sends reminder emails when a renewal notice is created. The emails are limited to households with emails within case records. DHS encourages all customers to share updated email addresses. DHS continues to leverage our extensive network of SNAP outreach partners. These community partners assist us in disseminating information regarding the renewals. To simplify the process, customers may submit a renewal application and required verifications through numerous methods, including electronic submissions, but not limited to electronic submissions. Over 75,700 customers have successfully completed the renewal process online for SNAP since we resumed renewals in January. DHS conducts cold call projects as another method to share renewal information with households due to complete the renewal process. This entails our local departments of social services staff calling the phone numbers of our customers that we have on record and informing them when they reach the customer regarding the renewal that is due and the process that they are required to follow to continue to receive benefits if they meet the program requirements. Information obtained from our cold call projects indicate that we do have households who are choosing not to pursue SNAP benefit renewal. And this may be for a number of reasons. As we've noted with the changes in income, we do have customers and households who are noting that they are no longer seeking to continue to receive the benefits. A customer whose case is closed due to failure to renew may reapply. So they have the option to reapply immediately for the benefits. A case is reinstated if the renewal application and the required verifications are submitted within 30 days of the closure date. Reinstatement means that the case is continued without interruption in benefits. As a result of our continued outreach efforts, customers who did not complete the renewal process are submitting updated documentation. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the slide that we are looking at is a graphical representation of what I have noted, in that as we have completed our outreach efforts and we continue to aggressively have our multi-channel approach of our outreach efforts, we are seeing, as we noted, customers, individuals, families who reach out to us after a case is closed. Again, if they are meeting the program requirements, we are reinstating their cases. Next slide, please. I would like to now turn to information regarding EBT fraud. Next slide, please. SNAP benefits are delivered to customers through the Electronic Benefits Transfer, or EBT account. Recipients receive a plastic card with a magnetic strip. This is similar to a credit card or a debit card that we use. And they use this card to access their SNAP EBT account, and they are to be used only at authorized locations, so food retail outlets that are authorized by the United States Department of Agriculture. Along with their EBT card, recipients establish a personal identification number, also known as a PIN, that protects their benefits from unauthorized use by someone else. The PIN is a secret number that only the card owner knows, that allows them to use their EBT card to purchase eligible food items. Recipients are instructed to keep their PIN secret. Without the PIN, no one else can use the card. EBT fraud has existed for many years. All states, including in Maryland, have received reports of EBT fraud throughout the existence of the program. Nationally, there has been an increase in reports of EBT fraud over the past 2 years, and Maryland has not been spared from this trend. There are many ways in which EBT fraud occurs. However, the most predominant scheme is one in where fraudsters use illegal electronic devices to copy information from EBT cards and withdraw cash or make purchases without the permission of the rightful benefit recipients. The DHS, Office of the Inspector General, collaborates with local, state, and federal authorities to investigate fraud schemes in Maryland and jurisdictions across the nation. Federal regulations are very clear in that federal funding cannot be used to reimburse stolen SNAP benefits. And the department does not have TCA funds appropriated for this purpose. Next slide, please. One case of fraud is one too many. As we have and we continue to monitor the fraud that is occurring in Maryland, we do acknowledge that fraud has impacted 1/1000th of the Maryland EBT cardholder population. Next slide, please. When a recipient reports EBT fraud, the department immediately disables the EBT card impacted and reissues a new EBT card. The department simultaneously connects victims with emergency food programs, DHS-funded emergency cash assistance on a case-by-case basis, and community resources for matters including but not limited to housing assistance, utility assistance, and other types of emergencies. Next slide, please. The department has taken several measures to alert the public, especially program recipients, to this issue and how to guard against it. On May 18, 2022, DHS issued a press release with specific steps that an individual may take to protect their benefits. Since then, we have issued additional alerts and social media posts addressing specific fraud schemes as they come to the attention of the department. The most effective ways to protect one's EBT card is to choose a strong PIN number, use it only at reputable retailers, and to never share the card information with anyone other than trusted family members. Our outreach material on this issue includes instructions on how to check ATM machines and other point-of-sale devices to ensure that they have not been tampered with before using them. And this material is shared with our customers and community partners. The instructions that we share also encourages recipients to change their PINs periodically and to report fraud incidents immediately upon discovery. DHS is working with Conduent, a private company that manages EBT benefits, to explore a number of potential solutions. The vendor is implementing a system change that will not allow SNAP recipients to select a PIN that would be easy for fraudsters to guess. Conduent is one of only 2 vendors that are federally approved by the USDA to manage EBT for states nationwide. Next slide, please. DHS is implementing enhanced functionality to block easy PINs for our EBT programs. Criminals are skimming the magnetic strips and then trying to use the cards by using the most common weak or soft PIN numbers. The enhancement that DHS is implementing will include blocking the interactive voice response, or IVR, call line, which will block certain phone numbers that criminals are using to check balances on stolen cards. In addition to the enhanced PIN requirements that we are implementing, Conduent has a new project under review to begin project implementation, which would provide recipient card locking ability. This would provide an enhancement in which cardholders would be able to lock their cards, and they would be able to lock them for all transactions or lock them for only out-of-state transactions. Maryland, along with states nationwide, are working with the vendors for EBT towards these projects. Next slide, please. Extended system outages are rare. If an extended EBT system outage occurs, Conduent will assess if data centers can be activated in one of their 2 backup data centers. So in the instance of an extended outage, the main data center in which our vendor operates the system if that were to be out, they have two separate data centers in two separate states that operate as backup centers to prevent an extended outage. Activating a backup data center is completed within 1 hour of initiation. If the first option is not available, it's not feasible, and an extended outage occurs, Conduent would then move forward with the activation of a declaration of an emergency manual voucher. This process is coordinated between the vendor and the third-party retail outlets which accept EBT. The third-party retailers would be notified to use the voucher to process SNAP transactions. For the recipient, they would be able to complete their transactions as normal. They do not have to know their EBT balance. They would provide their EBT card to the retailer, and the retailer would complete the manual voucher to process the transactions once the system is up. But this will not have a window of opportunity in which customers would not be able to process the transactions and then move forward with their marketing. This concludes the overview. At this time, we are happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Are there any questions? All right, Senator Kramer, Senator Benson.
Thank you for that,
Senator
Madam Chair.
Augustine.
And I hope you will indulge me as I do have a number of questions, and this is going to be the only opportunity to ask them and hopefully get an answer. And I will be relying on, and I'll represent to my colleagues here on the committee and you folks, this is not my area of expertise. This is an issue that I'm not particularly familiar with yet, as I have been sitting here reading the materials at my desk. My concern is heightened with regard to what it is I'm reading. And what I'd like to do is go through some of these individual items of concern and try to get an understanding if what I'm reading is accurate. If it is accurate, it obviously needs to be addressed. And if it's inaccurate, then I would appreciate your sharing with me the inaccuracies. So the first I am reading from one of the documents here in front of me reads as follows. According to the department's data between February and May of 2022, the department closed 198,946 SNAP cases, 3,740 TCA cases for recertification-related reasons alone. This decrease in SNAP enrollment is well outside the normal fluctuation. Is that accurate?
Yes. Thank you, sir, for your question.
Thank you.
So, to the specifics of the numbers that you noted as far as closures for the period that you have referenced, I would like to be able to follow up with those exact numbers, but as far as a general in those numbers, I would say it's near accurate. As far as the reasons, as you noted, there are varying reasons within the recertification process for a closure.
Well, and I think that is something that we're going to continue to discuss as we look at that particular issue. But what I'm trying to get a handle on, is it in fact accurate that there has been a dramatic change in that period of time from years past?
In comparison to our closure rates from years past, I would not say that is a dramatic change. Would highlight, as we noted at the onset of the pandemic, we saw an unprecedented surge in individuals that were in need or seeking assistance.
I understand.
So,
Understood.
as we had, I believe it was over 150,000 applications that we received in April of 2020. And from the period of 2020 through to 2022, we did not close these cases because we did not follow, or we had flexibility to not adhere to what would be in a normal situation, the program requirements.
Okay, but I'm looking at this following statement, and I'm just asking, accurate, yes or no? The decrease in SNAP enrollment is well outside the normal fluctuation.
That is not accurate.
Thank you. It continues. Some clients never received the recertification notice that their case was expiring, and others received it well after their case was already closed. The department is well aware of mail delays. Is this in fact an issue, and is there not a recognition that, not that it's your fault, but the fact of the matter is the U.S. Postal Service is not getting mail to or from recipients, and are you all making accommodations recognizing that, for instance, I know for a fact I'm getting mail that had been drafted and dropped 3 or 4 weeks before it finds its way to me? Are you all making accommodations to those folks who are in your system with recognition of, wow, U.S. Postal Service is a disaster right now? Are you all making accommodations for that?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you again, sir. Yes, we are making accommodations. During the overview, I did note, and I want to reiterate that piece, that in recognizing external challenges to our department, the U.S. Postal Service mailing delays, we are accommodating our customers. So as we interact with them, if they have shared that they had experienced the delays, we do work with them, and as we noted, we are doing the reinstatement, which would reactivate their case, and they would not lose any of their benefits.
Is there any automatic delay in the process? Because very often they may not know that what they have sent for their recertification was not received by the department. How are those lines of communication operating between the various parties involved? And listen, I appreciate that maybe at the top levels there is this philosophy, yes, we're going to do that, but is that getting down to the people in the field who are interacting on a day-to-day basis with those who are the applicants? Are those messages being communicated? And how is that being audited to ensure that that is exactly what's going on?
Thank you. During COVID-19, I would say up until the end of last year, our central office team, the team that I serve with, we met with the local departments, all of our 24 jurisdictional teams. So that included from leadership to the team members at the front desk who are encountering our constituents and assisting them. During those meetings, we ensured that all policy and procedural updates are provided to them. We also do have quality assurance measures in which we monitor the activities that are occurring within the 24 jurisdictions.
And who's doing that?
Our central office team.
And how many personnel are assigned to those quality assurance, whatever positions? How many individuals are doing that?
So to provide you with an accurate response for that, I would want to ensure that I could go back and and provide you with the exact
So
number.
the answer is it may be one,
It's-
it may be 10, it may be 2 or 3. Over how broad and how many, numbers of constituents that are being served? Is there any proportion, any, ratio of those people who are making sure it's being done properly to those who are in the field doing it?
Yes, so we have teams. It is not one or two. Within their quality assurance processes, there are several measures that are used to ensure that the proper procedures are being followed
Okay.
in all of our jurisdictions as we service Marylanders.
Okay, thank you for that answer. It continues that many clients were unable to file a recertification online because the system required a PIN that the department never issued by mail. Are you aware that that is happening and that this problem exists? And if so, what is being done to address that?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. So for the PIN, which is a secured measure to ensure for our customers that there is no fraud that takes place in the creation of their online accounts, we have the process in which we share a PIN with them. The PINs are shared via physical mail and notification to the customers. There's also a process in which an individual can, on our website, enter in up to 2 or 3 personal identifiable details, and the PIN will be made available to them. There is an additional measure in which, through our call center, customers can call the call center as well as the local Department of Social Services, and they can provide them with a PIN number and assist them directly with registering their online accounts.
And that's on the assumption they call a call center and there's actually a human being to answer the call. And we all know how very frustrating that can be in the real world when people are trying to make such a phone call. Let me ask you this question. At your call center, how many call centers do you have and how many people are employed in those call centers? And how many phone calls do they receive during the course of a given day at those call centers?
Let me have, if I may, I'm going to have Deputy Secretary Dan Wade answer that question because he has the call center.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Senator Kramer. I truly appreciate it. Our call center is, to some extent, the heart of our access to customers.
So it's you said a call center?
It is a call center, yes, sir.
Okay.
Along with the fact that our offices are open for business and people can come to our offices and work directly with our staff. To answer your direct questions, we have been operating with a staff of, on average, 70 people in the call center. On an average week, we have, as the summer has gone on an average week, we have increased from about 20,000 calls per week to 40,000 calls per week. And recognizing that problem, the department has, up until recently, used task order money within the contract to add staff to the call center. What we've recognized, however, with the expiration of the waivers and the flexibilities with FIA is that the resources within the existing call center were not sufficient, and it is critical to us to be able to make contact and have access to our customers. So this past Wednesday, September 14th, we received approval from BPW to increase our call center staffing from that average of 70 to an average of 115. And because of proactive measures that we took in applying task order money, 19 new call center, fully trained call center agents started yesterday. And we will have the additional balance of that up to 115 up and trained by the second week of October.
All right.
So
Yeah,
we-
and I appreciate that. Thank you. And it's very reassuring to know that those numbers are being increased because there is a recognition, perhaps, as a consequence of just what is happening right now and the fact that this committee was charged with looking into this issue, that suddenly in the past couple of weeks, there has been an acknowledgement that what has been woefully understaffed, a call center of 70 people, apparently on a good day, picking up somewhere between 20 to 40,000 calls, simply was inefficient and causing a lot of people perhaps to lose their benefits. So my concern is it's great going forward, but what accommodations were made? And it still sounds like even at 115, the call center is going to continue to be woefully shorthanded. What accommodations are there for those people who are suffering the loss of their benefits through an inability to communicate? Because I think there was an acknowledgement the PIN number is, in fact, sent by snail mail, but there's also an opportunity to call in and speak to somebody, except there will never be a human being that actually picks up the phone as people sit for hour after hour after hour waiting for that opportunity and finally give up. So it sounds like there's a disconnect in how the department is interacting with those people who need these resources. But thank you. I appreciate your candor and sharing with me those numbers. This indicates that clients receive a phone interview appointment notice, wait all day for a phone call that never comes, and their cases are closed due to a missed interview. Does that occur?
Yes, thank you, Madam Secretary. So there are instances, and this is not anything that is new to our processes, in which customers may miss an interview. For the SNAP program, as with many of our public assistance programs, an interview is required at the application for benefits and at the renewal for benefits. If a customer or constituent, they miss an interview, we do have the accommodations in place to reschedule an interview with the customer. If we do not, if they do not reschedule, if they do not complete the interview, per the federal requirements, the case has to be closed.
So going to that rescheduling, and this ties right back into the conversation we just had, this continues. Rescheduling an interview is extremely unlikely, as the department's phone wait times are long, calls are unanswered, there are no voice messages, and calls routinely disconnect to high call volume. Would you concede that that has been a problem with the limited number of perhaps 70 people taking 20 to 40,000 calls every week?
If I may. Tens of thousands of applications are being processed by the department. And yes, there are situations where the system is not perfect, and the call center itself, our data, which is, I get a data report hourly, shows that on average wait times can be at peak times half an hour to 45 minutes, which we acknowledge is not an acceptable number. Our metrics and our analysis indicates that when we get that 115 folks on the call center, those wait times will go down to between 5 and 10 minutes. So we do expect that to have a significant impact on the issues that you are bringing. But again, I want to reemphasize that there are applications being processed in very high volume, which is a tribute to the extraordinary hard work that state employees do in the department every day.
State employees do an amazing job every single day, and I will absolutely concur with you. Under very challenging circumstances, they're doing a great job. Has your department, Madam Secretary, maybe you can address this, have you all asked Governor Hogan for additional bodies to help these hardworking state employees who I would proffer are probably overworked and underpaid, but have you all officially reached out to Governor Hogan and said, we're overwhelmed. Governor, help us. We need bodies. Has that occurred?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Senator, for that question. And before I go to answer your question, I do want also to note that while we're focusing on the 70 or 115 call center staff members, let's not forget that throughout our local DSSs, we have, my complement is close to 7,000 people. And of those 7,000 people, a good number of them are processing and answering calls and seeing the clients when they walk in. So I don't want you to think, or people in this room to think, that 70 or 115 people, which is the new number that was thrown, would be the ones that would be handling the matters for our clients, because that is an incorrect statement.
But if I may pause there one moment, Madam Secretary, if I'm understanding correctly, that's the limited number of employees who are dealing with the calls. We haven't even addressed the limited number of employees that are handling people trying to walk in through the doors and access services via other mechanisms. So we've recognized the huge shortage over here. I am guessing that we probably have the exact same issue at the offices. Understaffed, underpaid, and excessive demand, which goes to my question, and I hope I can get it answered.
You will get it.
Have you gone to Governor Hogan and said, Governor, we are overwhelmed. We have a constituency that we cannot keep up with, that we need to provide services to. We need more personnel. Has that conversation occurred? And if so, what was the governor's response?
At this point in time, Senator, I need not to go to Governor Hogan because I do have the staff that I need to process the work. But if I had to, Governor Hogan has always said yes to all requests that has to do with the office being able to operate.
So then I'm going to assume the acknowledgement that you all have this huge demand, and that's why it's so hard to keep up, yet you have not made requests to the governor to get additional forces to serve it. So there seems to be some inconsistency here in, well, on the one hand, we're overwhelmed. Over here, it's, no, we've got adequate staff, so there's no reason for me to reach out to the governor. But let me wrap up, if I may, with I think what is a very pressing issue, and that is with regard to the theft. I am reading that the department's own records indicate that at least 360 households in Maryland have suffered from benefit theft in 2022 alone. So that's so far just this year. As of now, the department has refused to issue replacement benefits on the basis that no federal funds can be used to reimburse SNAP benefits. My question is this. We concede that federal funds can't be used. Why can't state funds be used? And I will refer back to the comment that I heard while we were looking at the slides, that cases of fraud are 1/1000th of clients, indicating it's minuscule. if in fact it is minuscule, is there any reason that the state has not stepped forward to support these individuals who desperately need these resources to replace their stolen funds? Can you share with me, is there anything that prohibits the state from backfilling to support these Marylanders in desperate need of these resources? Can you share that with me, please?
As we stated, they're federal programs. They're federal programs.
Understood.
That we follow federal guidance as to how we may use the programs and how we reimburse if there is an EBT fraud. And as you stated, and we stated, federal regulations do not allow federal programs to be used to reimburse the SNAP benefits that are victims. And I started by saying this is a crime that belongs with the law enforcement to pursue. And the department our response is aligned with the overwhelming majority of other states. We're focused on mitigating the EBT fraud by educating, as we said, our customers on how to best secure their EBT cards, as well as we're working with our vendor. I can tell you that we are working very closely with the Office of Inspector General. We're in constant communication, and also with Secret Services to USDA OIG and the Department of Health and Human Services. They're investigating this matter, and it is our goal that the perpetrators of these crimes are caught, and that's the department position at that
And I
point in
thank you for that. Almost wrapped up, Madam Chair.
Leslie.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and certainly all efforts to prevent this from happening going forward are to be commended. But my question is, helping the victims, has your agency ever reached out to Governor Hogan and said, Governor Hogan, we have these Maryland residents who are victims of fraud. They are in desperate need because they may lose their housing. They can't put food on the table. They need these resources. Has your department ever said, Governor Hogan, please, we've got these victims. Will you put to good use state resources to reimburse these people so they can have what was stolen from them? Has that conversation occurred?
We can define resources in many ways. As you heard this afternoon, Ms. Ayala and myself, we went down a list of the resources that we're making available to the victims of fraud.
Okay, but just one last try at this. Has there been a conversation?
Butt in, colleague, because
Yeah.
we don't have the whole day, and we've got some colleagues who've been trying to ask
Very
questions.
much granted. I'm
We
just
also
trying to
want
help
hear
those
from
people who
local-
need help, Madam Chair.
We also want to hear from the nonprofit sector that's working with this issue and from local government.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they don't have the power to say, yes, we can or can't do that.
I
These
think
are the
you've made
folks,
a lot of
Governor
good-
Hogan's
you've made
the
a lot of good
person.
points. Okay, Senator Benson, Senator Augustine, you turned it off. I know you were tired. If you want your questions further, and Senator Hester. We're going in that order, and then we're going to try to move to the second part of our program today and hear from the local officials and from the nonprofit sector. Okay, Senator Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's only one question that I'd like to ask. It is my understanding that you all did not respond to questions about the reported staffing shortages, and you've attempted to address that in the conversation with the senator here. But what I'm concerned about is the delayed contractors' payment and the lack of available interpreters. In other words, what most of the correspondence that we have received indicate that there has not been adequate support for persons who don't speak English. Can you all address those points for me, please?
Thank you, Senator Benson, for those very good questions. I'm going to have LaShira respond to the language and the contractors, but then I would like, if you would be so kind, to have Mr. Wade speak to the staffing situation, because I think it's very important for this group to know our staffing situation and whether
Okay.
they're indeed overwhelmed.
Yeah,
or not.
and one last piece here. If each of the individuals who received the cards, and they have a PIN number, I'm just wondering how it is that we have this terrible problem with fraud.
Very good question. LaShira?
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Senator Benson, for your question regarding the EBT fraud and one of the enhancements that we are implementing. We're seeking to eliminate the issue is the use of an easy PIN number. Sure, for many of us, having to remember many passwords can get tough at times. And with all the new requirements, it can be quite a bit. What we're seeing is that generally individuals, they are using numbers that with the enhanced technology that fraudsters use, they are able to easily obtain. So maybe not your 1234, but 2221. And within the technology that they currently are using, they have the ability to rapidly enter in EBT card numbers and to try a number of PINs until they successfully use the correct, what is referenced technically as weak or soft PIN. So with the implementation that we are currently doing with our vendor, that will prevent it in multi ways. When the customer moves forward to set the PIN, if they attempt one that is identified to be easily stolen, the system will reject it. It will require that they select a stronger PIN number. And two, when those fraudsters who are calling, similar to telemarketers that we all have, those numbers are, as the reports are being made, those numbers are being then noted, and our updated, the vendor's updated system will block those numbers from being able to make a call to the interactive voice center and attempt to retrieve the balance details and to access the EBT cards of our customers.
I have a bank card. When I put my bank card in, I have a PIN number. No one can get that PIN number if I don't give it to them. I'm just trying to figure out why that's so difficult. That PIN number is so difficult.
Senator, it's very similar to what you've noted with your debit or credit, your debit card having a PIN. With the EBT card, it is very similar with the same magnetic strip, and it also has a PIN. And as you noted, unless you share your PIN with someone, they would not have it. However, if you were to attempt to retrieve monies from an ATM machine, and there were devices, the skimming devices that are being used nationwide on the ATM, and you were not able, because it's not something that is easily visible to the naked eye, as you input your card, the device will then retrieve your debit card number as well as your PIN number as you press it into the ATM machine. And that is what is happening by and large for many of our constituents, as well as individuals nationwide.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Senator Augustine. And then we are going to have Senator Hester's quick question, and we're going to the others who are here to give us other aspects of the problem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for your presentation. I do have a couple of questions. They won't be that long. How many eligible Marylanders are not accessing benefits right now?
I don't believe, I'm going to have to get back to you with that data, not accessing benefits.
You might want to pull your mic over in front of you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Senator Augustine. We would have to follow up with you with the data associated with that. That would entail for Marylanders using information such as Census Bureau data to identify within income levels individuals that may be eligible, and just a host of other policy
I completely
requirements.
agree with you on that, but I was just like on the website and looking, it seems very difficult to figure out how to actually get to even apply for some of these benefits. And so I would want to know how many Marylanders who are eligible, who are hungry, we got young, kids who are hungry, aren't getting benefits that they are eligible for. So I would ask if you all could bring that information back for us. How long is the contract for Conduit?
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Senator Augustine. The contract, we are currently in, I would say, our second to last year with the contract, and then we will go forward with the process for request for proposal.
In the new contract, will you require that they use some of the smart card technology that is out there that is far less susceptible to some of the fraud that is occurring with this outdated technology that clearly is being utilized right now with these cards?
Yes, enhanced security measures will be, and as we are in the midst of drafting, it's in the RFP. Yes.
Including like the smart card, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Beyond this idea where we just are, using, again, the banks have gone way beyond this, obviously, to protect. And I just would hope that would be in the future so that our families won't,
Absolutely. And if I may add to Ms. Jala's response, keep in mind there are only 2 vendors nationwide, only 2 vendors that are certified by FNS to issue EBT cards. So the options are not limited, right? Very limited options. And the requirements needed for a vendor are defined by USDA FNS. So we would include it in the contract language, absolutely. And I do believe that if something positive would come out of this, which I find very hard to believe, but I think it's some awareness by FNS as well, that they too have to support the states in what the state needs to ask a vendor before they are certified to issue EBT cards in the state. But I don't want to raise the bar too high and fail because some of the things are beyond our authority.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
finally, and this is the reason why I turned my light off, Madam Chair, because Senator Kramer did ask a question, but I'm going to ask it again. We have a surplus within our budget. We have a surplus, and we have families that are hurting. These stories are unacceptable. We have families that are hurting, and you can get them the benefits that they are eligible for that were taken away by fraud. Why aren't you doing that?
As I stated before, while we are not reissuing the benefits that they have lost, we are issuing other kind of benefits that compensate somewhat what they have lost.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Why not? You're not answering my question. Why, when we have an unbelievable surplus and a simple request, you also indicated it is not, as I can hear it, not in a larger sense, a large number of money, but can help these families. Why aren't you doing that? And I'm just trying to ask, why not?
we're working with the Secret Services, the OIG. As I said, I truly believe that this belongs with the law enforcement. And they will prosecute these fraudsters, and I don't want to compensate the fraudsters for them stealing the money and we reissuing the benefits. So as I stated, we are indeed issuing other kinds of benefits. So it's not like the families are left with absolutely nothing. We do have a number of resources that are being offered to these families.
Senator Hester. And then we're going to the other panel.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'd just like to point out that on this specific question about reimbursement, not of the fraudsters, but of the vulnerable families, I sent you a letter on June 8th, and I asked a specific question. Have you spoken with the Department of Budget and Management or the executive branch about potential funding resources to repay these benefits? If so, how recently? If not, will you? So I specifically asked this question in June, and we are still here, and you're still not providing a decent answer. There's other states that are doing this, as well as the city of Washington, D.C. The state can pay if the state chooses. And our question is, does the buck stop with you, or does the buck stop with Governor Hogan?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the letter. To answer your question, we are aligned with other states that are overwhelming. I do have a chart with all the other states, and as you stated, only Washington, D.C. is reimbursing the benefits. California, because as I'm sure you know, there was a case that and it's only in one, not in the whole state of California. It's limited to a specific area that mandated that they issue the benefits. But this is a nationwide issue, not only a Maryland issue, and nationwide is not reissuing the benefits.
So that is a policy statement. Some states are doing it and some states are not, and it's your decision, unless you're saying it's Governor Hogan's. Now I'll move on. I chair the Joint Committee on Cyber, IT, and Biotechnology. In my letter of June 8th, I also asked several questions related to cybersecurity. Question number 8 said, when is the last time DHS and any IT system utilizing the distributed SNAP TCA benefits were assessed for cybersecurity risks? You did not answer that. Question number 9, are you aware of any breach of state systems or systems used by the vendors with access to information from DHS? I don't think you've answered that one yet. I also asked what type of identity access management or multi-factor authentication the provider uses. We passed a series of cybersecurity bills which require all state vendors to meet certain minimum standards, and I am not sure if Conduit is meeting all these. I'd like the answer to these 3 questions. In the interim, between when I sent you that letter, I asked you 5 times for a contact at Conduit. I sent you an email on June 8th, June 15th, June 23rd, and July 12th. I think this committee deserves the right to a conversation with its provider. If there's 2 companies, that should constitute a monopoly. And if it requires federal legislation, I think we could ask for them to change it. But this company also needs to be held to account. And I would like the answers to those 3 questions, as well as the answer to who at Conduit I can speak with, because it's disrespectful to the General Assembly to not answer a senator's questions.
Thank you, and thank you for generosity to allow us to go back and send you the answer to those questions. We will do so. Thank you. But for the record, I do want to know that within our system, DHS system, we have not experienced any security breach that could have caused what we're discussing this afternoon. But I would send responses to your questions.
So one final question, then I'll be quiet. So when I take my Bank of America card to an ATM machine and I enter my PIN, I have not been subject to any skimming. So I haven't gone to maybe this specific thing. But we're not having a rash of skimming issues from other cards. It is specifically related to this vendor. Going back to my issue, and I'm not trying to make this a Bank of America, it could be many other large banks. If I have an instance of fraud on my bank account, That private company reimburses me for my stolen money. Have you asked Conduent if they will pay back these stolen benefits, which are federal benefits administered by the state of Maryland to the most vulnerable people who need them most?
First, let me make clear that it's not only Conduent, and correct me if I'm wrong, LaShira. It's happening with both vendors, so it's not only Conduent.
So have you asked them to repay the benefits? Because that is the provider that we procure with in the state of Maryland.
No, I have not.
Would you be willing to?
I would consider a conversation with Conduent, but as I have said, this lies with law enforcement, and the law enforcement would pursue the cases as appropriate. And you know, they're really investing a lot of time following this case. This is a bigger case than what we would like to be. It's a nationwide case, and the Secret Service, FBI, OIG at the federal level is very involved. And I don't really know what the outcome would be, the remedies that would be imposed by the law enforcement and the security.
All right, we want to thank the members of the department, and you know what our concerns are. I think we've been pretty open about them. And we're going now to the SNAP nonprofit program administrators and participants, Mark Griffin, SNAP recipient, Baltimore City, Veronica Crosby, program manager for the Cash Campaign of Maryland, Renee, SNAP recipient, Baltimore County, and J.D. Robinson, program coordinator for Maryland Hunger Solutions.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. I would like to, for the record, I do have a 4 o'clock commitment. I will stay in the room until 4. After that, members of my staff will stay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay, just say, Madam
Vice
Secretary,
Chair,
yeah,
yes.
just very quickly, because I think Senator Hester was raising the point about a letter that she sent. You're going to provide a response. Is there a timeline? Because sometimes somebody will make a representation, a month will go by, 2 months will go by. Can you give us sort of an estimate as to at least some type of response to the queries that Senator Hester put to you? Would it
Thank
be?
you so much. That's a very good catch. In a week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Now we'll ask members of the second panel to come up. You may sit in any order that you like, or you may stand at the podium if that's more comfortable for you. State your name, the entity that you're representing, and we're going to ask you initially to try not going over 3 or 4 minutes, so we've got time for questions. You can see we like to ask questions. All right? And you may go in any order. Where is Mark Griffin?
Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and start with Mr. Mark Griffin.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad that you give me the opportunity to come here and present this case. I didn't think I was going to do this, but the opportunity arose, and I'm here. But first of all, I just want to tell you why I received the SNAP benefits. I've been working all of my life, started off at 16 years old, but I ran into a terrible situation working as an ophthalmic assistant for 20 years. A motorist ran the red light at 25th and Halbert Street and T-boned me and killed the blood supply to both of my femur heads. So that allowed me not to be able to go to work and see my patients until they found out what type of trauma did I actually occur to both of my femur heads. So it took them maybe a few months. Once they found out I had to have a series of surgeries, I had to resign after 20 years of an ophthalmic assistant for the Cats and Eye Group. So I had to figure out what I was going to do with my life at this time while waiting for surgery. My wife decided that she didn't want to wait after 20 years for me to get disability, food stamps. So just before I was leaving out of the hospital, she had packed up and left. So that left me with my 401k, and that's about it. I had just brought a $150,000 home, and owed quite a considerable amount of money on it. So here I am stuck in this home with no money, and I applied. Folks said, Mr. Griffin, don't feel bad if you have to go down to social services. And that's what I did. When I went down to social service, they helped me with some funds for a few years until disability came and gave me an award. And then, and that award was about $1,090 a month when I was making $45,000 a year. So I had to figure out how to do with that, and then social services came in, and they gave me, I think it started off maybe before the award came in, about $170-something. So once the award came in, it dropped down considerably to the point where I was only getting $11 a month. And most folks would say, you went from $45,000 a year and you're getting $11 a month for food, and your wife's going, how are you making it on that? I said, I have to continue doing this because I have to go to every program necessary in order to survive right now. So if it's $11 a month, then I'll take it. And so I did that for quite some time until the pandemic hit. Once the pandemic hit, the income went up to $250. I was quite surprised. I was so happy that I was able to start to feed myself along with catch up on some of my bills. So this started a year, maybe a year and a half ago. I've always keep abreast of these certain papers that I've needed since 2001. Papers for gas and electric help, papers for energy assistance help. Everyone needs these papers each year. So before I had to run around and find them, but as I got good with it, I made sure they were all in order. So when it comes down to recertification for this pandemic, I was told, I said, Mr. Griffin, you have a form here that says you are going to get a phone call on June the 23rd of this year. Be home, because it'll get it between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock. But by me being so familiar with social services, I know that I've got to be by my phone the entire time, so I never went anywhere. So here's 2 o'clock coming. I'm ready. I've got my paperwork. 2:30, no phone call. 3 o'clock, no phone call. 3:30, I'm starting to panic. I said, well, I'm a professional, so when things like this happen, then I have to take charge myself to find out. But to get on that phone and try to get this resolved was like going into the twilight zone for days, going into this twilight zone, to eventually where I did the information as far as the phone call didn't happen. July 17th, I made sure I went to a mayor station and made sure everything was right. They sent it off. So now here comes August the 1st. I go to my mailbox. Mr. Griffin, you have been denied for your benefits because you did not comply to anything we asked you to do. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I needed this money. So what I did was I called legal aid. And I said, I don't know what to do. I said, I've done everything that I could do. And they said, well, you need to go down right now. And I've had an appointment to have hand surgery. I still got the sutures in my hand. I said, well, I've got an appointment to to see my orthopedic surgeon. And she said, you got to go down there and do this, because if you don't, then it's going to be denied. But if you can get down there and file an appeal, then they would have to hold this information until a decision has been made. I said, fine. So that's what I did. 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm there for quite some time. I eventually told them what I was told, to come down and do this appeal. No one understood what I was saying. Someone eventually understood. Here it is, 1 o'clock. My appointment is for 2:30 at Mercy Medical Center. And so I said, okay, ma'am, I'll go back and we'll see what's up. And she said, Mr. Griffin, if I got to take you to the back, we're going to get this straightened out for you before you leave. And I said, fine, man, let me call my doctor and cancel my appointment, which I did. She opened up her computer, and she said, oh, Mr. Griffin, it's all there. This big screen. Look right here. It says you've been approved August 31st until July next year. It's all there. And I said, well, I don't know what happened, ma'am. And she said, it's all there. Go home, wait for the 11th, and go get your food on the 11th. This was on the 2nd. I go to the store on the 11th. I do all my shopping. I get there, and it's $5 on the card that I left. I said, the money's not there. So I put the food away. I went back and did another series of calling to try to find out where this money is. The one lady said that your money, you didn't do your refund certification. Okay, we see that, but you didn't do the phone call. Oh, you've been hacked. I said, I've been hacked. How I've been hacked? There's still $4 on there that I had. You've been hacked. And so you got to call this number. Call this number. And this guy said, well, you call that number. We can't help you here. Call that number. I said, sir, they're going to dump me into a circle. They dumped me into the circle. I got discharged out of the circle and didn't get anything done until the attorney called me and said, Mr. Griffin, check now. Your money should be there. And there was $250 there. And then on the next on the 11th, which was coming up, the rest of the money was there. And I don't know what happened till today, but I did get my money. My surgery was postponed, and I go tomorrow to get my stitches out.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. All right. Veronica Crosby, Program Manager for Cash Campaign.
Yes. Chairmanwoman Kelly, Vice Chair Felderman, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony on SNAP enrollment, eligibility, and fraud. My name is Veronica Purcell Crosby, and I'm the Program Manager for Financial Security and Tax Operations with the Cash Campaign of Maryland. The Cash Campaign of Maryland is a nonprofit organization that promotes economic development for low to moderate income individuals and families in Baltimore and across Maryland. More than half of our clients earn less than $20,000, and many less than $10,000. I lead a team of 4 human service professionals who work at employment sites and community centers to provide SNAP outreach, enrollment, as well as navigation assistance to benefits that they qualify for. We receive calls on a daily basis from families who are having issues, and we've identified in our work with those individuals 2 key challenges that we see. The first, access. I receive about 6 calls per day from people needing assistance with completing their redeterminations and new applications. Because they are new to the process, they do not know the steps to go through, and they are not sure how to begin benefits nor how to continue their benefits. We hear on a daily basis that people are receiving their packets maybe a couple of days, 1 to 2 days before their benefits are due to close out. And because that's such a short notice, unfortunately, they do not have an opportunity to get the support that they need to go through the process, nor have an opportunity to stop the process from benefits being closed out to them. And they are still in need of the food assistance. The phone interviews, unfortunately, people are stating that they are not receiving the phone interviews, and that they are then receiving letters stating that they have missed the phone interview and that their case will be closed due to missing those phone interviews. The second one are technology challenges.
One question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do they all have access to a phone? Does everybody, if they really are hungry?
Yes. They
still have phone, I mean the person hoping to receive the benefit.
Yes, the person that's hoping to receive the benefit does have a usable telephone number. They are good numbers that they are putting on the applications. So the phones are in use. The second one is technology challenges. Many families do not have home computers or internet service. Some may have a smartphone, but unfortunately, even if you have a smartphone, people are having difficulties with being able to complete an application for SNAP benefits on a smartphone because you also have to upload documents. So therefore, they have issues with being able to upload those documents in order to prove their eligibility. And many people are basically getting stuck in the queue during the process of accessing benefits. We had someone who had attempted to use the MyMD Think platform, and unfortunately, they were not able to submit the application. Somehow they were directed to us, and one of my staff members took their call and actually troubleshooted with them over the phone. She took them through the application step by step and identified what information was missing that needed to be placed in the application, and the client then was able to submit their application online to move forward with the process. Yes.
I see Senator Augustine has a question for you.
I just want to just follow up on what the chair said, because it wasn't an answer, and she raises it for me as well. I mean, if you're homeless, you don't have a phone. So how do you do an interview if you are, you don't have a landline, or if you are in real financial struggles, the phone company's going to cut you off. So how does that work? I mean, I think that's part of what she was asking.
Right. So for us, we are actually, if you will, the boots on the ground. So we are in places where people can actually walk in. And I understand there are other nonprofits that are co-located with other departments. For the cash campaign, we are co-located with the Mayor's Office of Employment Development at Mondawmin Mall. So therefore, if someone needs assistance, they can walk in there, and we can provide them with assistance as far as their applications are concerned, and connecting them, letting them know what they need to do to navigate that system when you don't have a telephone.
Okay, in a larger sense, I think, though, that's wonderful that you are providing that service for that very narrow, I'm saying it's good, but the state is large, and you're not covering, and there are significant places in the state that likely don't have the resource that you're saying. I think that we probably want to know more how that's being addressed sort of across the state. And it's not for you to answer, but I just think that that's something that we want to better understand.
There are a lot of areas where there are no retailers open anymore. So maybe we need to move into school buildings or churches or something else. Okay. I'll let you wrap up so we can go to the others.
Okay. Just to wrap up, we are here as a partner to help to find solutions to the issues that the clients that we service can be able to access, as well as retain the benefits that they so justly need and deserve. Thank you again for the opportunity to provide testimony today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. You enlighten us a lot. Ms. Renee, a SNAP recipient, Baltimore County. Push the mic on down. Do you want to talk to us?
Huh? Oh. Sorry, this is not for, I don't really like going to courts or anything like this. I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous.
I'm also a victim of the food stamp fraud. I did my redetermination, I believe it was in March or April, and had some issues with that. After waiting a few months, they finally issued the back food stamps for my 3 children and myself, which was close to $3,000. And about a week or two after finally receiving that, somebody took all the money off and left me $66. So my kids went without nothing, hardly anything.
So you think that was one of those skimming things?
Yeah,
I went to put your card there.
I don't know much about it. I think so. I contacted all the stores that it happened, and I contacted different places. They pulled the cameras, and they found it was the same couple people that were going to all the stores buying baby formula with my kids' food stamps.
Senator Hester.
So you said, thank you for being here, first of all. You said that the money was pulled off a week apart.
About a week or two, roughly, yeah.
At any point in that, did you change your PIN number?
My PIN number's been the same for years, but after, like, the same day I found out I had to take off work, contact the police, they issued a new card, which took another 2 weeks to get to me with the remaining $66. But before that, no, I had the same number for a long time, and it's never happened to me before.
But when you had the new card, did you use the same PIN or a new PIN?
No, a new PIN. Yeah, that you.
And then
you
it was stolen again?
No, it hasn't. It was only somebody had stolen my information. I have my card all the time. Somehow these people, however they do it, they got the information and they used it. I'm from Baltimore County, but they used it over in DC here and went to all these stores that we went to get the videos. I had to do everything myself. The police department didn't really help me at all. Like, I had no help.
So just so that I'm completely clear, so your money was stolen off of the first card, but not
Right.
the second card?
No, the second card is fine.
Okay, and then in the problem-solving mode, you said the police haven't been able to help you at all. I mean, I was thinking it would be really useful if there was a way to track cases like yours, so that we have all the information coming in some form. And I don't know if the police and DHS could work together so that we're funneling all these details to try into one system. I mean, where did you go to file your police report?
Baltimore County, the Essex location. I called as soon as I found out that, the money was, like, the food stamps were gone.
And did they help you get the food stamps? Because you make two
No,
stops.
they said they can't refund anything. DHS, everybody told me.
So one of the things that I've heard is that if you could go somewhere or call some number and report the fraud and get your, the card reloaded at the same time, it would make our constituents' lives a lot easier.
They also have the people on camera from every store, and they got the tag numbers, everything. And I've contacted the police department, like, asking them, can you give me any updates? Did they get the people that did this? He won't answer back, which he's been doing since, I have all the messages since the very beginning. I contacted news stations, DHS. I've talked to multiple workers that contacted me right away. They all said, I'm sorry, we cannot refund. I said, can you just give me a portion of it back so I can feed my kids? They said, we can't.
Okay, Senator Kramer has a question, and then we're going to our final panel. Senator Feldman then.
Thank you for being here and taking the time to come and share with us your experience. And I was asking the question of the department, what about the prospect of the state reimbursing individuals who are just like you, who found themselves in need of the resources that were stolen? The response I heard repeatedly was, well, this is an issue for the FBI, the Secret Service, the Interpol. Let me ask you a question. Does that put food on your table?
Exactly.
Does that help you feed your children if it's left to these law enforcement services to respond to the issue? How does that benefit you?
Exactly.
It doesn't. Is
And
that
I gave
correct?
them, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying
I
it-
gave them all the information they needed. They didn't help me. I had to go and get we had to drive all the way to DC, get all the videos that we could from the stores, send everything to them, and then for them to just not answer me back. And the one officer, I'm guessing he blocked the number because it rang from another number when I called, but it wouldn't go through when I called. So I don't know what, he said that it immediately blocks you after a week. He said. It's just been, the whole time, like he had said over there, it's been a runaround. I've been through everything, contacting everybody for weeks, missing work that I need to feed my kids, because I do work. It's just not enough to help.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that story with us. Very important to
Senator
hear.
Feldman, and then we're going to hear our last panelist, J.D. Roberts.
Well, I just, of course, I 100% agree with Senator Kramer. That doesn't, law enforcement not going to put food on your table. I do, though, Madam Secretary, when you're putting that letter together, responding to Senator Hester's questions, I would be curious to know if there has been any success in terms of law enforcement. We have a witness here talking about camera footage, common groups. You didn't mention that. I would be, again, very curious if there has been success as far as some criminal prosecutions as a result of experiences like that. So if you could include that in the letter, that would be helpful as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, and Mr. Robinson.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Kelly, Vice Chair Feldman, and members of the Senate Finance Committee. Thank you all for letting us the opportunity to speak today. My name is J.D. Robinson, and I am the Anti-Hunger Program Coordinate for SNAP at Maryland Hunger Solutions. We are a statewide, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization working to end hunger and improve the nutrition, health, and well-being of all Marylanders through outreach and advocacy. For over 10 years, and in partnership with the Department of Human Services, we have assisted anyone in Maryland seeking food assistance through applying for SNAP, maintaining their benefits through the recertification process, and navigating them to local resources such as food pantries. It is through this work that we have encountered similar stories to Mr. Griffin and Ms. Renee, and unfortunately seen an alarming number in these past few months. Maryland SNAP participation data over 2022 shows a downward trend. We all saw that graph today. We had a record number of participants in February, 881,000 in the state. As of June, and the most recent data available from the department, we have fallen to 658,000 members. When we compare this caseload loss to the rest of the country since June of last year, 2021, Maryland is first at a 21% caseload loss. Second to us is 17% at the U.S. Virgin Islands. It is our belief that the ending of program flexibilities are a large part of why the caseload in Maryland has decreased so rapidly. Yes, ineligibility due to income explains part of this loss. It is not the full and total reason. These prior flexibilities removed barriers such as interview requirements, pushed back recertification periods, and in general assisted people that were on SNAP with the barriers that they commonly face and are now returned to the state and many recipients, as we've heard from Mr. Griffin, and the recertification process. That process alone is where many recipients can and often do lose their benefits. When recertifications returned this past year, between February and May, 384,000 redetermination packets were sent to households in Maryland. Only 93,000 were returned successfully. That's a success rate of 25%. As we've heard from Mr. Griffin and Ms. Renee, recertifying is not a guaranteed process. Issues arise. We understand this. We are all human. Communication can break down between clients and DHS. Mail delays can cause notices to return to households well after their due date. And general confusion about the process, especially for those new to the program, those recently joining during the pandemic, leads many to come to organizations like ourselves, Cash Campaign, and Maryland Legal Aid, and many of the other SNAP partners within the state for assistance, almost a requirement that they need to know one of our organizations in order to get the benefits that they deserve. When this happens, clients losing benefits and immediately reapplying is something that we call churn. It's unfortunately not like ice cream, it's a bit more of a negative term. In a 2014 study, the U.S. Department of Agriculture found that 66% of all churn cases in Maryland were removed at time of recertification, and that more than half of those households that were removed were eligible when they were. It is estimated that states spend around $80 per household that churns. We've lost somewhere around 100,000 households over the past 6 months. You can do the math. Removing barriers to the recertification process saves time and money, not just for SNAP recipients that are losing their benefits, but for caseworkers that are being overworked and underpaid, and the state that is no longer losing money recertifying households that were already eligible for benefits. The USDA recently released a round of SNAP waivers on August 15th, 2022, dubbed unwinding waivers. These are available to all states, and we urge DHS to apply for all of them. These waivers include streamlining the recertification process, waiving the interview requirement, and streamlining address changes. These are waivers that the state can access, and a sign-on letter with 20 organizations from across the state, including other SNAP outreach partners, has urged DHS to do so for the full-time period allowed. These waivers can remove barriers to benefits access, greatly reduce these churn rates, and alleviate administrative burden for DHS caseworkers, as it sounds like they are being overworked. We thank the department who has applied for many of these waivers throughout the pandemic, and we ask them that now is the time to do so again. We commend the department's usage of telecommunications to remind households of recertifications, but of those 93,000 that were returned, only 16% of them were completed online. So we need to immediately improve upon mail communications. There are delays, so we understand that. So maybe a 60-day notice should become a 90-day notice. An additional notice sent at 45 days ahead of a recertification works just as fine. Increasing other means of notice are vital. We appreciate that the department has utilized text and email functions, but we hope to see an increasingly robust means of communication over the next couple of months. We appreciate that DHS has released guidance for SNAP recipients as a ways to protect themselves for SNAP fraud, and it's a step in the right direction. This isn't an issue that the entire country is facing. I cannot emphasize that enough. Both SNAP vendors have seen, both EBT vendors have seen this happen in every single state, and these are benefits that are being stolen from eligible recipients who rely on them. Unfortunately, as they have mentioned, federal funds cannot be used to replace these benefits, and it's with that information that state funds must be leveraged and utilized. A partnership between the state, the Department of Human Services, OIG, the governor, whoever needs to be pulled into this needs to come together because, sure, 350 cases have been reported, but it is likely that there are tens, maybe even hundreds more that have gone unreported, and the $170,000 lost in benefits so far is likely going to continue. These state funds need to be leveraged and used to refund anyone that has lost their benefits already and set aside for any future cases of fraud that may occur. Because card security ultimately falls on USDA and the EBT vendors to fix, and DHS needs to be a part of those conversations as well. In closing, I want to thank the department for working with us and the other state partners through these unprecedented times. I want to thank the community members for bringing forth these stories despite the hardship and pain that they have caused. And I want to thank the committee for shining a spotlight on the challenges that SNAP recipients in our state are facing. We need better systems for them, and they deserve as good a system as our state can provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody on the panel. Thanks to all presenters today. Thanks to the department. And I hope that the fact that we've worked hard and we've worked long won't stop us from trying to do more and looking at models in other states that may be getting results in those areas where I'm sure you yourselves are not satisfied, considering that you really are doing the work because you want to help people. And we need every Marylander who is in need to be helped. All right. Now, is there anybody in the public here that'd like to take a minute or so because you have an experience or something to tell us on this subject? All right, well, seeing no takers, I want to thank members of the committee. We take your need and your information seriously.
I would like to say
and we
something
appreciate all that we have heard today. Okay. Thank you. No, he was long-winded. Okay, thank you.